Well, there you go. The court is taking a break. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Trace Gallagher in for Martha MacCallum. We'll go back to Kenosha Live when Kyle Rittenhouse retakes the stand. He's been on the stand for the better part of an hour, maybe more than an hour. And, of course, the prosecutor right now is trying to try and paint this image of Kyle Rittenhouse kind of going out with this AR weapon and really pointing and painting this picture of Kyle Rittenhouse not necessarily having to be out there. Remember, the prosecution's case has been based all along on the fact that they're saying that Kyle Rittenhouse was out there and didn't need to be out there, and if he wasn't out there, that nobody would have been shot. He is charged with killing two men, wounding a third during, of course, the protests last year. He says he fired in self-defense and did not intend to kill anyone. Let's bring in Bob Bianchi. He's a former head New Jersey County prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney. The prosecutor clearly trying to paint this image, Bob, of why was he out there? He's saying over and over again, really tell me, why were you out there? Because if you were not out there, then 3 people would not have been shot, 2 of them killed. Is he making progress? Is this effective?
I think the prosecutor's on the ropes, Trace. This has not been a good day for the prosecutor. In fact, witnesses that the prosecutor even put on himself, one of which was the victim, have said that this was a very unsettling scene, that Rittenhouse was in danger throughout all of it. Rittenhouse is trying to run away. Gunshots are going off. He's being assaulted. He's being verbally attacked. And that was what came out in the state's case. Now Rittenhouse is on the witness stand, and it doesn't make, I get what the prosecutor's trying to do. He wants to bloody him up as much as he can, but to me it sounds like desperation. Talking about you shouldn't have been there, and why were you there, and you had this weapon. But that's not what the self-defense law is. The self-defense law doesn't talk about should you have been there, should you not been there. It says, and I'm quoting, whether or not the defendant had a reasonable belief that it was necessary to prevent somebody from killing them or causing great bodily harm. That is the issue, and the prosecutor is not really addressing that directly, not to mention, I mean, as a former homicide prosecutor myself, yeah. I had a cringe, not only in the manner in which the questions are being asked, but some of the questions that are asked where the judge is just destroying the prosecutor for asking things. Last point, Trace, a question was asked about why he did not speak since he was arrested until now. That is basic 101 fundamental. Don't need to be a lawyer. Don't need to go to prosecutor school. That is a profound constitutional violation. Mm-hmm. And the judge as much said that he crossed over that line. My prediction, Trace, is the defense now has a free trial. If Rittenhouse is even convicted, I think a court reviewing that is going to say that is such a basic and egregious thing because you have a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, and every prosecutor knows, I did it for many years, yeah. Whether you're doing an opening statement, a closing statement, or cross-examining a defendant, you never get anywhere near why they remain silent. So this prosecutor's having a ROUGH day.
Yeah, and you make a valid point there because the judge admonished the prosecutor, handily admonished him earlier in the trial today. And I guess the question would be, the prosecutor seems to be going down that road again. It's also a fair point to note, Bob, that the prosecutor is showing a lot of video, right? He showed a bunch of video in different scenarios of Kyle Rittenhouse, where he was at what time and in what locations. And I guess we should point out that all this video, and we don't know what's on this iPad video that they're about to show, but of all this video, so far there is nothing that shows the actual shooting. There is video where we can hear the gunshots being fired, but nothing that shows the actual shooting. The only video that's close is where you have Joseph Rosenbaum actually chasing Kyle Rittenhouse through the streets, and then you have all this testimony where people are saying, including one of the people who was shot, saying he tried to grab Rittenhouse's gun. So if you don't have anything to counter that, why are you showing all this video?
I don't know. This video, I don't think assists the prosecutor because, Tracy, it may sound like a very fine line distinction here, but remember the law. When you assert a self-defense claim, the burden switches to the prosecution where they have to disprove self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt to 12 of those jurors. And that's still an honest and certain conviction that the self-defense claim does not exist. But what the defense is doing and what those videos do is they show a chaotic situation. They show that he became the ire of a group of people, a mob, protesters, whatever you want to call them, people that were doing unlawful activity. They weren't just quote unquote innocent bystanders. They were chasing him down. There were multiple instances. I think this is really relevant. That he only fires one shot one time, and once that threat was removed, he didn't fire again. He pointed the weapon at another person, but he didn't fire because that person backed off. I said, I'm sure the defense is going to argue at the end of the day. This shows that he was using prudence in a very chaotic situation where things are unfolding very quickly. He's being assaulted. Rocks are being thrown at him. He's being hit with a skateboard. He's being kicked in the head. And now people are trying to get his rifle. And again, the prosecution has to disprove that his belief was unreasonable beyond a reasonable doubt. And the way the prosecutor is going about it, Trace, in my mind, I don't think he's convincing the jury of anything here. I think they're going to see him as a naive, young, kind of wannabe cop guy or whatever, goes down there, may have been imprudent, may have been stupid. He wants to look like he's a big shot. But in the end analysis, he became the focus of the ire of this crowd slash mob slash demonstrators who were committing illegal activities. So we're not dealing with a case where everyone's coming here, with that the victims weren't of pure intent. Not to forget the one who got shot in the arm. This is really relevant to me, Trace. I think the defense is going to bring us out in summation. When initially he comes and he's got his hands up with the gun, Rittenhouse has the his firearm pointed down. It's when the victim then pointed the gun at his head that he fired again, one round. When that threat was neutralized, he didn't fire anymore. I got to tell you, I think that there's going to be some jurors. I don't know. As a homicide prosecutor, if I were trying this case, I'd be going home and saying, first of all, I got destroyed by the judge, beaten up. I created reversible error by commenting on the defense right to remain silent. And you know what? I don't think my cross is doing anything to convince 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt that this was not self-defense.
And I got to go here, Bob, but Gage Grosskreutz was the one who got shot in the arm there. I want to know the other side. You've been on both sides of the legal spectrum now. You know, the defense attorney rule has always been, do not put your witness on the stand. I know it's ultimately Kyle Rittenhouse's call. How do you think he's doing? Very quickly, Bob.
I think he's doing great. You had to put him on the stand because he's asserting an affirmative defense. The jury has to hear that his belief was reasonable. So I think he's doing well. He's handling this prosecutor very well.
How much longer do we go here? I know that when he gets back on the stand, is this going to be into the rest of the day for Kyle Rittenhouse?
Well, yeah, it's hard to say because I think the prosecutor is really trying to score something, and he's really doing a lot of fishing. So sometimes when you're in that environment, it's hard to get out of it because you know how important this testimony is, and you know he's not scoring points. So we could be here for a little bit while longer. And then the next question: will the defense attorney redirect him?
Yeah, and that is a good question. We will find out soon enough. Bob Bianchi, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Let's get live to the senior correspondent.